Okay, boys and girls, today we're going to learn about visibility in Solidity. And let's first start off with what is visibility in Solidity. So visibility or visibility modifiers, these ones, there are 4 in Solidity: public, private, internal, and external. You probably have used them if you have a coding background. You have probably used this in other languages. This is nothing new. And these are called visibility modifiers, and these keywords, you put them on functions and variables, state variables or whatever else, and basically they define whether this data, this variable, let's say, or function, is accessible by other contracts. By other words, these are just ways to set up access control mechanisms into the smart contracts. So you may even don't know what the access control is. This is just for if you're a beginner and just starting out. Well, access control means, for example, let's say you have a college software and you have both students and teachers use the software, and you don't want the students to have permission to set grades for themselves, and this is where access control comes in. You have to have access control and not allow students to access the software that sets grades for the student. So let me guys give you a very quick overview of this project I have created. First of all, I'm using this remix.ethereum.org. If you haven't watched my other videos in this playlist, please make sure you do. In the previous video I teach how to use Remix. So I've just went up here in this files, into contracts, new file, and this is the file I've created. And here I have defined the version, which is 0.8.9. I have some comments here, and I have defined 3 contracts, and you don't even need this one if you want to follow along. You just need these 3 contracts. And I have defined a parent contracts, later you'll see why. I've defined a contract child which inherits from the parent contract, and don't worry about what inheritance is at the moment. All you have to know is that this isParent allows us to inherit, or basically get all the data stored, or basically all the variables and functions defined into this parent contract. And we have just a outside other cousin contract. And let's start off by defining a string, which will be the name of the parent, and I'll just set semicolons. I'll save this. As you can see, always save your contracts, and look for this check mark here. That means you have no errors. And this name variable, or any variable that you set, by default it's set to internal. So if you don't have a visibility modifier here, basically you have internal by default, like so. Okay, let's start with the most restrictive type, or visibility modifier I should say, which is private. And you have 4 visibility modifiers, and whenever you have a variable and you are questioning what modifier you should use, you should always start, or at least try to use the most restrictive modifier, which is private in our case. So let's learn what private is, and let's make this name private by just typing private in front of the name. And this is where the place for visibility modifiers. And I don't want you guys to make a mistake of thinking that this name, since it's private, no one can see it. So this is the blockchain, and after you create this smart contract, let's say this is a real application, and you have this name variable that's private supposedly, but once you deploy this smart contract to the blockchain is basically public if you're using Ethereum blockchain or any public blockchain. So everyone only using some JavaScript can read the contents of this private name. So private only means it's private for other contracts. As you can see here, private means only inside the contract that defines the function. So private means that you can only use this name variable inside the contract it was defined in. So if you have another contract like child who inherits from parent contract, this child is not going to be able to access the name property. Also the cousin contract. And let's just say now I have these three contracts, and let's deploy them to see what's happening. So go up here. First you have to save this contract so it compiles successfully. Now we can deploy it by going here. So you can go deploy the contract by going here, selecting this environment, and then just into this contract section you need to choose the contract that you want to deploy. In this visibility.so file we have three contracts, and I want to first deploy the parent contract. Then I would go ahead and deploy the child contract, and then I would deploy the cousin contract. And if we go up here and open up the parent contract, as you can see there are no variables here that I can interact with. As I was saying, since this name variable is private, if you go into this parent contract, even in the contract it was defined in, you cannot see the variable, because now we, as an external contract or as user, we cannot access this variable. It's only accessible from the smart contract it was defined in. And also we cannot access or see the property in this child and cousin contract. But if we want to, let's say, define a new variable, call it whatever we like, let's say surname, and we want to use this private variable and assign it to our surname variable, save this, you can see it compiled successfully, so no errors. So we can use this private variable inside the contract it was defined in. Okay, let's now go ahead and learn about the internal type, and I'm going to delete this variable, or actually I'm not going to leave this, and change private to internal. Save this, and as you can see we are not getting any errors. And by the way, internal is the same as private, but is a little less restrictive in terms of the internal properties can be accessed from contracts that inherit from this contract. So if I were to deploy the parent contract and the child contract, deploy, and also the cousin contract, deploy again, you can see again you can't see this name variable, but that's because this way of seeing is basically, this is like externally contracts. This is the way externally, and this internal name, it's only available from this contract and the contract that inherit. So let's define a variable here, call it name of child, and let's assign this, try to assign the name variable to it. Let's save this, and as you can see it works, we're not getting any error. So which means this name variable is accessible in this child contract. So let's now learn about the external visibility modifier. So if you were to try to put external on this name property, save this, you're going to see that we're getting this error that says expected identifier but got external. So for whatever reason I cannot use external modifier on variables, so I'm going to use it on this function. And if you don't know what a function is, don't worry, you're going to learn in later videos. But for now, a function is just some reusable code that you can call so it gets executed whenever you like. And here this code basically will return just some text, and we'll say some text here. And if I save this, it compiles successfully. And external means only other contracts and accounts can call, which means contracts from outside, like this cousin contract, can interact with our parent contract and call this say hi function. So I'm going to save this, go up here, deploy our parent, child, and cousin contract. And if I open up the parent contract, you can see I have this say hi function. If I click on the say hi function, you can see we're getting some text here, so we can use this function inside our contract if it's external. But we also have this function, it's basically external, is also internal in a way, because we're getting this function is available in this child contract that inherits from this parent contract, but we don't see the function inside this cousin contract. Why is that? So basically, for this outside contract can in fact use this function, but for that this contract can we need to implement some logic so the cousin contract can interact with the say hi function, and that's hard topic for another video, but just know for now that this function is external and can be accessed by any other contract on the blockchain. And let's go now to learn about the public visibility modifier that says any contract any account can call. So basically public is basically not restrictive at all. Anyone at any time can call this variable. So I'm going to save this and now deploy our child contract, our parent contract, and our cousin contract. So if I go to the parent, I have this name variable. If I click on it, I'm going to get its string value, but it currently doesn't have one, so we're getting nothing. We can also access this from the child contract, since this is public. And if we go to the cousin contract, again, this contract can use this variable, but it's not interacting. It needs to sort of ask for this variable, and it's not asking at the moment, so that's why we don't have it currently. And as I said previously, you're going to learn in later videos how you can interact with the smart contract, and that's a very interesting topic for another video, but for now we're going to keep it simple.